Square Enix as a company has had a crazy 2024. On one hand, they released, in my opinion, the game of the decade in the form of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and if you remember, they had reports and internal conversations about how the game didn't end up hitting and meeting sales expectations, but in my most recent video on the subject, we looked at the numbers and realized that, a game selling in 2024 to the tune of 2 to 2.5 million copies. I don't know. Generally speaking, that's not really considered something that would be a failure, but I don't know. This is Square Enix. We're talking about a company that has laughably had unachievable sales goals for multiples of their titles, but okay, cool. Whatever, if you want to add that onto the other hand of the company going through massive layoffs, huge restructuring efforts, having to sell off, I would put that probably on the good side of things. Their Western endeavors to just simply refocus on what they're good at, and then also, adopting a multi-platform approach to things, and echoing the overall sentiments of the industry. I would consider that to be a good thing, especially breaking away from what stupid-ass Sony is up to right now. But now, to add things onto the pile and to make things even worse, now they're having to answer questions in regards to Sweet Baby Inc. specifically, which is actually good news that shareholders are specifically bringing this up. Not for the fact that Sweet Baby Inc. should be drove out of the industry. Very much should be. It's that you actually have informed shareholders as opposed to just the idiots who know that there's something wrong with Disney, but then unironically back Bob Iger as the savior of the company. No. There's at least people this time around going, hey, Square Enix, we know that you're doing multiple things wrong. While some of your decisions are good, some of them are good. You also have this DEI problem out west with, some of your stupid games. And it's like, can you not work with Sweet Baby Inc. anymore? And how detrimental were they to you and your overall bottom line? Like, can you elucidate us on that? Square Enix shareholder questioned the company about its business relationship with video game consultancy company Sweet Baby Inc. Oh, there's Aerith at the Festival of Lights. I don't want to spoil anything, but that was a great scene. If you are unfamiliar with Sweet Baby Inc., let's play the reminder game, shall we? The company's mission is to inject woke ideology in the form of inclusion and representation into the video game industry. The company's CEO, Kim Belair, has also encouraged individuals to, her words, not hyperbole, terrify developers and executives in order to obtain her company's mission objectives. Specifically, go to your marketing department and terrify them. During a presentation at the Game Developers Conference in 2019, Belair detailed if you're creative working in AAA, which I did for many years. Yeah, she worked at Ubisoft, and how well is Ubisoft doing? Anyways, put the stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see value in what you're asking for, when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing department and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want. This is why you never work with these freaks to begin with. Now, because they have to consider. I say out loud as a joke, but it's actually very, very true. Because if you start to consider the people who are player and influence facing, and you have to deal with mitigating harm and with keeping the sentiments around their game and their project positive, there's like a genuine value that you could impress upon them both ethically and financially. Just trying to weaponize emotions. What are you, Sephiroth? You could say this is important. Belair went on to state it's also a valid discussion to have if you're working with a thin narrative budget and you work in AAA. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or dismayed by the amount of money that marketing can give you. That's nefarious, to say the least. That's blackmailing. The same blackmailing that, Black Myth Wukong ended up exposing Sweet Baby Inc. to doing. So if you just simply thought that maybe this was taken out of context, you see it in practice 5 years after she made the statements. And oh yeah, these people really are as evil as they tell you they are. But thankfully, they're also as dumb as you think that they are, because they'll go ahead and lay it out for you, and they're so arrogant in thinking that they're right and that there's nothing that anybody can do about them simply treading upon hobbies and industries that she used to love. Belair made it clear that she was the animus against white gamers, describing them as picky babies. Oh yeah, right. I think in our industry there are so many creative industries, if you want to look at film and television and any art form, which is what these uncreative hacks always try to make gaming into. Just make it into, you know, your stereotypical Sony movie game. Which even, and given the fact that this is Square Enix, I can, you know, draw these direct parallels. You'll have some uninformed hacks try to tell you that that's what FF7 Rebirth is. Oh, it's just basically a hallway simulator. While you could kind of level those complaints about some of the level design of Remake, if you hear anybody unironically say a Rebirth is just simply a movie game, they're idiots and didn't play the game. There's no other way to put it. They're just lying to you, like Kim Belair. So despite the changing face of the audience, is it really though? Because thanks to Capcom, last week or a couple weeks ago at this point, they put out that survey with all of the different demographics, and even Activision, when they were trying to justify making everything more diverse, it's actually not changing. It's like gaming's getting bigger, getting larger, casting a wider net. It's just the same people who are gamers have always been gamers and will continue to be gamers. And in fact, the people who grew up with video games are kind of now the biggest demographic. It's like 30-something-year-olds who grew up with the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis at home. Like, that's the group of people. Sorry, your racism won't allow you to reconcile with the truth. But yes, the changing face of conferences like this one. Yeah, we're a bunch of freaks just get together and talk about how the gaming industry is so bad. The one that you work in and are trying to subvert and make markedly worse. Oh, we still look at our core demographics and say, okay, they're white, cis, hetero males, and we cater almost exclusively to them. Unless you look at the output in recent times, especially from Western developers, and go, who exactly are you catering to? Because none of this stuff looks appealing at all, and the sales actually reflect that. You know, here's something that you think you'll enjoy. We'll cater to them like a picky baby. Yeah, imagine that, giving your audience what they want, but this is what these freaks preach. They don't want to make anybody money. They're just here to tell their story. Their story, they're not unique enough to tell on their own. That's why they have to attach themselves to a Ubisoft, to an Activision, to a BioWare, to an established name in the game, because their own creative endeavors never get off the ground. It's kind of like something else that they like to advocate for. It gets smothered even before it gets the opportunity to be in the crib. Yes, the rest of this article does include a very good breakdown of a bunch of Kim Belair's public statements, and feel free to read through those if you want a refresher course, or if you're unfamiliar with all of her nefarious schemes. They're right up there for you to read. I'll just go ahead and jump ahead to the Square Enix part of this stuff, where it becomes a little bit more spicy. It appears at least one Square Enix shareholder was concerned about Square Enix's employment of Sweet Baby Inc. Yes, it's one of the many names, as you can see, you know, Xbox Game Studio, EA, Valve. Basically, all the heavy hitters in the industry, they have their grubby little hands on all of it, okay? And Square Enix right there in the middle. Shareholder asked during a recent report, I'm personally happy about the shift from quantity to quality. I hope good titles will come out in the future. I'm concerned about the Canadian consulting company Sweet Baby. Square Enix is listed as a client, but is there actually a transaction there? What kind of transaction is it? Will they continue to do so in the future? That's a, hey, great point. Great question. Very cogently phrased in the right forum to raise that concern. Well done on that, because yeah, it's Square Enix's most recent high-profile offering, Rebirth. It launched February 29th, and if Sweet Baby Inc. was a part of that in any form or fashion, I didn't see their name in the credits. None of the names really, you know, rung a bell when I was watching through it the first time, and I'm on the doorstep of completing my hard mode playthrough, so I'll be able to see the credits, hopefully, you know, knock wood, in the very near future. And because the game has been out for, 4 months at this point in time, you would think, somebody would have figured out if Sweet Baby Inc. had its fingers on it, but no, the story's great, the characters are fantastic, some of the best that I've ever seen in a video game. This hack company really didn't have anything to do with that, thank God. Enix president Takashi Kiryu responded, I would like to refrain from making specific comments about individual clients as we shift from quantity to quality. Providing content that is enjoyable and safe for our customers is also a part of what makes a product fun. We will do our best as creators. Hey, and here's the thing about Sweet Baby Inc. They don't make games fun. That's not their modus operandi. That's not their mission statement. They're there to, ham-fistedly insert identity politics. It says it on their website, for Christ's sakes. Okay. Line of questioning also comes in the wake of Square Enix working with consultancy group Black Girl Gamers on their Forspoken title. Forspoken was a massive flop and resulted in Square Enix shutting down the game developers Luminous Productions and absorbing it into Square Enix proper. Luminous Productions also announced that it was going to be shuttering February 2023. Oh, sucks to suck, I guess. Oh my god, we just closed the game studio with our freaking mind? That's a dead meme, just like Forspoken. Yo, shout out to Square Enix for potentially learning some lessons. Okay, shifting towards, the games that actually make the company money, giving the clientele what they want instead of what they think a bunch of fringe ideologues want. That's good. Okay, because there was a point in time where if Square Enix put their label or put their logo on a game, people would give it the benefit of the doubt, and people would actually look forward to new releases from the company, especially when, Enix was its own company and, Squaresoft was its own company. Those were the days, but those days are long gone, and maybe, especially with the current run that Final Fantasy is on, I hear good things about 16. I'm looking forward to playing a PC port. Hopefully we'll hear something about that, and a Rebirth port, either at Gamescom at the end of August, I think that is going down in Germany, or at the end of September at Tokyo Game Show. I think that's probably the more likely spot, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Just give us PC ports of those two tremendous games so I can experience 16 and continue playing Rebirth just on a different platform. Okay. But while certain companies are learning the lessons from the failings of the past, there are other ones who are just continuing to move straight forward, okay, trying to represent the changing demographic of the audience. I've seen this stuff, and it's like, who is this going to appeal to? And Sony, what the hell are you doing? Okay, PlayStation Studios seeking non-white transgender actor to lead new game. Okay, story will focus on how their culture, transgender culture? Oh, are you going to have to answer the 42% question? Not accept women as leaders in their community. So what? How their culture does not accept women as leaders in their community. But you're looking for a non-white guy. Okay, that's weird. That's a interesting thing to do. According to a new whisper on the digital streets, Sony's PlayStation Studios, which, let's go back to that list. You have a Sony PlayStation Studio. You got Santa Monica Studios that's on there for Sweet Baby Inc., but there's a number of consultancy companies that are out there. So, okay, is currently looking to develop a new game centered on a male-to-female transgender protagonist. We already have that, Horizon, who seeks to prove herself against the misogynistic views of her culture. This game is literally going to sell tens of copies. Word of this title's development was first raised on June 20th, courtesy of the noted Spanish-language PlayStation fan news account Notiplay, detailing a casting call they would later purport to have witnessed firsthand. The account explains that the game was looking to feature a girl, quote-unquote girl, of 20 to 30 years of age, of dark skin and transgender, and an expert in knives. Yo, bro, are we sure this isn't a troll? Like, what the hell? I think this isn't a Call of Duty tie-in with some of their recent June-centered theming. Further, they noted that it's a story that would center on how their culture does not accept women as leaders in their community. Yeah, okay, bro. So I guess we do have news on, The Last of Us Part 3, whatever. Met with an understandable wave of skepticism in response to their post. I mean, I read that and I go, that's hilarious. And totally not out of the realm of possibility of PlayStation. Naughty Play would return to the topic 2 days later to clarify some things regarding their claims. Okay, addressing some of the common criticism leveled against them. The news account asserted it was never a bait, it's 100% real. The info was taken from a page where you have to register to see the casting call. Okay, there are also Ubisoft, Activision, and other Sony Interactive Entertainment games. I claim that this is a PlayStation Studios game because the casting director's history 99% of the time worked for Sony Interactive Entertainment. Okay. Trust me, guys. Okay, so your sources. Trust me, bro. I would never go into the mud without being 100% sure of things with a sensitive topic like this. I mean, we'll probably just have to wait for another state of play that's just as woke and insufferable as the one that we seen right at the end of May from Sony, as the rest of the industry is beginning to heal, or at least in the case of Microsoft, healing with very strong jaws. Sony is going, no, we want one more trip around this woke old merry-go-round. Not merry-go-round. Got a tranny ghost or some shit like that. Unfortunately, for those curious and those still skeptical, Notiplay has yet to provide any further details regarding the casting call, including the identity of the casting director, the exact resource. Yeah, not giving up his sources. Okay, that's kind of fine. To this end, while the exact trustworthiness of the account's rumors has yet to reasonably be concluded, it has given at least some level of credence due to the fact that those teams under the PlayStation Studios banners have in recent years shown themselves more and more open, forward tackling, or towards tackling such topics in their games. Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 2, Abby's traveling companion, Lev, was transgender. Yes, of course, for as many people who looked at Abby and thought, that's a woman, huh? Interesting. Not very passable, but no. There was another character that was in there. All of them were horribly written because Neil Druckmann's a total hack, but that's a first-party Sony studio. Okay, yeah, you got this weird cat bat thing over at Activision. You got pronouns and a hero shooter bio. It's like, it's totally believable. And while, yes, you can, of course, take it with a grain of salt or an injection of hormones, it's not beneficial yet. But there's so many things that go on in modern-day AAA industries. Would it really be shocking is if the next time, Sony comes out and says, hi, we have a brand new IP, take a look at this? Would anybody really be shocked if it's some chick with a 5 o'clock shadow go, hi, we're so oppressed? Yeah, I don't really think so, man. But when I read stuff like this, when I see crap like this, God, you just roll your eyes so hard you think you gave yourself a concussion. But then at the same time, you also know, as a content creator, in the back of your mind, it's like, sometimes it's really tough to find things to talk about on a daily basis. So when I hear stuff like this, it's always good to note and then just keep on the back burner, because job security is awfully tough to find in today's day and age. But not in this crazy ass woke world, man. This will just be another pile of shit to just simply sift through whenever it does get announced. Game Awards, Summer Game Fest next year, who knows? But I'd imagine we'll probably see it in some form or fashion. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.